This is Sarah Squires bringing you behind the headlines in today's edition of WyoToday Newsroom. Today we are going to be honing in on the Bookmarked Literary Arts Festival. It's coming up here in Lander from October 10th through the 12th. It's pretty much got something for everyone, including from youth to adults, whether you're interested in fiction or nonfiction. And today I have got some guests on the show who are going to really take us behind the scenes here. They are authors who are coming to share their work, and I wanted to introduce you folks to Nona Schrader. She is an author coming to the Bookmarked Literary Arts Festival, and we've also got on the phone Jessica Baehr. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, Sarah.
Yeah. So, I wanted to kind of go over the schedule of events here. We start on Friday night at 5:30 p.m. This part of the festival is actually at the Lander Library in the Carnegie Room, and it's really geared towards youth authors. So we've got kids in the community who have been writing up a storm. They have submitted their writing to the children's writing competition, and that will be a chance for folks to hear some of their writing and check out the award ceremony for our youngest writers here in the community. Then on the 11th, starting at 9 a.m. at the Lander Senior Center, we've got authors from all over the place here in Wyoming and to some of our neighboring states even, who are going to be doing readings starting at 9 a.m. And you get a little bit of flavor from so many different genres on Saturday morning. Then in the afternoon, we've got a book fair. If you all remember the scholastic book fairs of the back in the day, the excitement about that. That'll be going from 3:30 to 5:30, and you will have a chance to get your hands on some of the books from these local authors who are coming to share their work. And then on Sunday, on the 12th, at the Lander Senior Center, we've got an opportunity starting at 9:30 a.m. for some nonfiction action and a little bit of poetry as well. So I think I wanted to dive in here. We are so fortunate here to have on the show this morning a couple of authors from Wyoming here and beyond. Nona, now I understand that you have focused some of your career on young adult fantasy fiction. Tell us a little bit about what got you started, what you're most interested in, and what you're looking to share.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm actually a Lander native. I grew up here and spent a lot of time in the mountains on pack trips as a kid, and I just love the Wind River Mountains. I left to teach for 26 years and then returned to live in Lander. And during the time I was gone, I began a young adult environmental fantasy series, and I used my experience growing up in Lander and spending time in the mountains to bring the experience of the mountains to readers. I wanted to target young adults because after teaching 8th graders for so many years, I learned the passion that young people possess can really accomplish things. So I wanted that group to understand how important it is to keep the beautiful headwaters we have in the Wind River Mountains and other places in the Rockies. When I was in 6th grade, sitting in Lander grade school in Mr. Hudak's class, I decided I wanted to be a writer. And I wrote my first book over a period of 15 years when I was working and raising kids. I finished the second book in 3 years, and I'm now working on the third book in this series. The first one is titled Aqua, the Latin term for water. The second book is Aqua 2, Waves of Sage, which just came out this year. And the third book is Aqua 3, Sweet Water. In every book, I focus on Wyoming rivers. And there are many Wyoming rivers, so I have a good lineup ahead in terms of material for the future. But I'm really passionate about water and I think this is a good way for me to get my message out. Well, so thank you for asking that.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Now, I wanted to turn to Jessica for just a minute. Now, Jessica, I know you have kind of worked in one genre and then sort of turned on a dime and kind of dived into another one here. I understand you've spent some of your writing career working on nonfiction, and now you're into like historical fiction, biographical fiction. Jessica, tell us a little bit about the writing that you do.
So I've always been a writer. I got a journal on my 8th birthday, and I've pretty much been writing ever since. But as I got older and I wanted to be a writer, but didn't necessarily know what I would write about, I didn't think I was creative. I was wrong. I was young. I didn't know and understand that to create something means that you're creating something that didn't exist before, and you can do that via nonfiction as well as fiction. And so that's kind of how I started. I published my first book, which was an extension of a college paper I did on Tourette syndrome and how it affects communication. And I've never been an adrenaline junkie, but the second that I hit publish, I felt that, and this is now my life. I was not going to be happy in any other career aside from writing and publishing. I love it. So I quickly published two more that were similar to my first book. My first book on Tourette syndrome and how it affects communication was expanded essentially into a self-help book called Awkwardly Strong, and how to utilize awkward moments as a tool instead of an excuse. I then switched to doing the same thing with Tragically Strong and Fearfully Strong, because I have a lot of experience in those areas, and all of them are tools that we utilize. But because of my Tourette syndrome, I found a woman who was the first recorded case of Tourette syndrome. She's the reason that we have a diagnosis, but I couldn't even find her name. She was just M. Baehr in all of these French medical journals, and that was it. And I was so curious about this woman. I felt a connection to her. I wanted her story, and so I figured, well, if nobody knew it, I was going to write it. And shortly after I made that decision, her full name fell into my lap, and I went, oh, she wants me to write this story. So I've been able to tell a little bit about her journey and figuring out why she is cursing when she doesn't want to curse, why her limbs fly of her own accord, and why she's doing all of these things, and how that affects her relationships. She was married underage at 17 because they thought it was going to cure her, because this is the early 1800s, think like Jane Austen era. So I got really excited about that, and that became my first novel, which I actually just published last month.
Oh, exciting. Now, if you're just tuning in here, I'm speaking with Nona Schrader and Jessica Baehr. They're both authors who are going to be featured at this year's Bookmarked Literary Arts Festival. That's coming up here October 10th through the 12th in Lander. Friday night is a chance to soak up some local youth. They'll be reading some of their own writing for the youth competition. And that's Friday night at 5:30 at the Lander Library. There also going to be an award ceremony, and it's kind of, I think it's really neat to watch young people kind of get that writing spark that some of us caught early on too, and to sort of fan that flame in some of our young local folks here who are interested in writing, and really help them on that journey. On the 11th, starting at 9 a.m., we've got at the Lander Senior Center, we've got local artists just like Jessica and Nona are going to be reading from their own works of fiction starting at 9 a.m. And then from 3:30 to 5:30, we've got kind of a book fair. So that's your chance, after you've heard these authors read from their own works, to kind of visit with them. You might pick up a book, get them to sign it. It's sort of your door into good reading this winter. I think that's when I lean most heavily on books to get me by. Then on the 12th, also at the Lander Senior Center, starting at 9:30, we've got some nonfiction and poetry events heating up, and that is a wonderful opportunity to check out some of Jessica's nonfiction selections, and then kind of take a little break and enjoy some poetry as well. Now, one thing I forgot to mention before is this event is free for everybody. There's refreshments. It's a cool time, especially I think on Saturday, when you get to soak up so many different authors who come together. And I think a lot of folks say this is one of their favorite literary events of the year, because you really get the opportunity to connect with readers and introduce them to your work. So I wanted to kind of ask you, Nona, I know you've been to the festival a few different times. What is your favorite part, or what are you most looking forward to this year?
I've been to many book signings over the years and other Meet the Author events, but I'll tell you, the Bookmarked Festival is so fun because you get to meet readers. and they listen to you read, which is rare. That doesn't often happen at a book signing. And so it's really excellent to have a chance to hand people your book, let them see it, let them talk to you about it. I created a fictional ranch at the mouth of Sinks Canyon, right outside of Lander, and that's where my main character lives. So people who have been in Sinks Canyon really enjoy that. So meeting the readers is one of the most exciting things. And I'll have to tell you, just to add on, having 30 writers, over 30 writers from around the state and a few other states come is fantastic for a small town like Lander.
Absolutely. We're really lucky, I think, that Wyoming's got some really great writers. And I don't know if it's something in the air, but there's definitely some inspiration out there. Now, Jessica, you've been to Bookmarked a few times. What do you think makes it so special? Why should people come and check it out?
For me, when I've read in the past, I've always read from this book that I just recently published for the last couple of years. And I love the validation of people saying, oh my gosh, I'm really excited for this. How motivating for a writer to keep going, because sometimes the writing and the publishing process is hard and frustrating. But like Nona said, being able to meet the readers, people that are excited, it's just so motivating. I know I've already kind of said that same word, but I can't think of another one. I'm a writer, not a talker. But being able to have that validation is huge. It keeps me going for the full year.
Yeah. I always think, as a writer myself, that, good writers are also good readers. You kind of have to have one of each going for you. And, reading is such a pleasure. Sometimes we end up in a little bit of a funk, but for me, I always make sure that I am prepared for those winter months when it's cold, it's harder to get out there and enjoy the outdoors. It's dark all the time. And that's when I tend to sort of venture outside of my comfort zone. So I often find myself diving into the world of fantasy. I just want to escape planet Earth entirely in the winter. But I also want to kind of experiment and do something different and shake things up. And so I think that Bookmarked is really a chance to get a taste of things that maybe I wouldn't normally pick up off of the bookshelf, and then see what's out there and kind of, venture out into a different genre than one I've been in before. And so for those of you out there, for those of you out there looking for a little sample, kind of a sample platter of these local authors and all of these, different genres, different, things to soak up, Saturday is really the day when the magic happens. So starting at 9 a.m. at the Lander Senior Center, you can get a taste of all kinds of different bodies of work with authors right there to answer questions they're going to read for you. And then you have the opportunity to check out the book fair and bring something home to get you by this winter. I wanted to thank you guys both for joining me today and give you a little opportunity to, either of you, if you've got an elevator pitch you want to throw out here for folks who are maybe on the fence, or maybe they've got something else on the calendar and they're thinking, oh, I don't know, maybe I should go, maybe I shouldn't. Can we get them over the hump, guys?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for talking about Bookmark today. I think one of the things that will really convince people to come is the fact that it's so exciting. Like Jessica said, it's so motivating as a writer to meet the people who want to read our books, and that really does carry us forward, as she said, for a whole year. So I think the level of excitement is something that you wouldn't expect at a book festival. And it just gives voice to our shared Wyoming experience, and I think that's what's neat. In a state with a low population such as ours, it's really exciting to connect with other people about reading and writing.
I think for me, one of the exciting bits is a lot of times authors will read bits from, sometimes they're already published, but sometimes it's works that they have not yet published. And I love feeling like I've got insider information and some kind of sneak peek, and I know more than other people, and I can get excited about some of these things that people are writing, having that inside information. I know that some of the authors that are coming have said that they were going to share something that it's not published yet, but I want to share. Absolutely, we love that. but I love that little inside peek.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is, don't forget about that part too. You get to peek behind the curtain in so many ways at Bookmarked Literary Art Festival. It's coming up here from October 10th through the 12th. Friday night is kind of a youth night where we're going to listen to area youngsters read their own works and then check out the award ceremony and watch that spark, kind of fan that flame of a writing passion in our young people. Then on the 11th, on Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Landers Senior Center. We've got readings going on pretty much all day from different genres, different local writers from Wyoming and beyond. Then from 3:30 to 5:30, we've got this book fair where you can get your hands on some of these books that you've kind of got a little bit of a sample for and really kind of stock up to get you through the winter. And gosh, go wild, man. Get through the spring and summer too if you want. Then on the 12th at the Senior Center, starting at 9:30 a.m., it's nonfiction and poetry. We cannot forget about that. There's so much great work out there. I wanted to thank you both for joining me today. We've got Nona Schrader here, local author, and Jessica Baehr. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to seeing you during the event.
Thanks for having us.